is I think CBT therapists easily fall into the trap of making suggestions to clients because we have run into these obstacles before. So we say, try this, try that. And you're referring both to the book, but also in connection to the Clinician's Guide, we started making a YouTube clinical tip series.
Yes.
On my YouTube channel, which is Christine Podesky. And on that clinical tips series, we're taking some of those suggestions from the Clinician's Guide and, you know, blowing them up and talking about them. And that's one of the things when clients say yes, but to us, they're really alerting us, hey, you've dropped collaboration, you've dropped Socratic dialogue, you're now just giving me advice. And it's such a relief because I think as early on in my therapy career, and I think a lot of therapists feel this, we feel pressured when clients bring us problems that we have to solve those problems. But actually, that's not the case. You know, we don't have to solve all our clients' problems. What we have to know is processes and good questions to ask them that will help them solve their own problems. And that takes the pressure and the burden off of us as therapists. But it also, interestingly enough, it engages clients more because, you know, we feel better when we are solving our own problems, when we're figuring out solutions. That makes us feel motivated, it makes us feel competent, and it really helps us feel like, okay, I'm getting it, I'm making progress, I'm an effective human being here. And when we just give guidance constantly to our clients, we actually rob them of that self-efficacy experience, which I think CBT is one of the therapies that's very well suited to help people leave therapy feeling like they've got skills that can carry them through the rest of their lives. And so...
And it goes both ways too, because if therapists are in this practice of like, what about this? What about this? Let me give you another tool, and so on and so forth, and things aren't seeming to work or stick, that can lead to compassion fatigue, burnout, and all other kinds of problems.
Exactly. And we don't realize it's not that our clients are unwilling, it's that we're maybe not using the most effective methods. So I'm glad you picked that up from the Clinician's Guide. There's all kinds of tips like that. And I think depending upon your experience level, different tips will jump out at you and really resonate. And what I really like knowing what you said is you then tried this out with your clients over the last few months and did a behavioral experiment yourself. And you can see the impact that that has on your therapy. So I certainly don't want therapists to just read this book as a gospel, but instead to read it as a kind of a creative inspiration and then say, okay, I'm going to try this. You know, Christine suggests this is one way to do it. Let me give it a try and see what the impact is on the clients that I work with in my own way of doing therapy. And if it's useful, then it'll become part of your own therapy repertoire.
And very good. And one thing, we'll take a break in just a moment. But I wanted to just circle back to something you mentioned earlier, if I may, about the videos that you've created that go along with the guide. Can you talk a little bit more about what inspired you to create them, how long they are, and how they could be helpful to a therapist, particularly given the point that you made about how therapists often have limited time or bandwidth to pay attention to research?
Yes, we started this, we've actually been planning this clinical tips series for about a year now, and we decided that we wanted to do it because we wanted, first of all, we think a lot of ideas from CBT can be helpful to all therapists. So we wanted to put it on a YouTube channel. So any type of therapy, you don't have to be a CBT therapist to benefit from the tips. But we also wanted to, there were so many clinical tips embedded in the Clinician's Guide. And I thought, you know, a lot of these are things that therapists really want to know and that would help them get over obstacles and stuck points in doing therapy. And some of them are just...
Can you summarize it? Can you summarize just a few of them?
Yeah, so far we've got one on when clients say yes, but what to do instead of giving advice. We've got one on homework and how a lot of clients don't like to do homework, and how that's not a client issue, that's a therapist issue. So I give like 10 different tips on how to set up homework so clients will actually want to do it. And we've got one on measuring change, because most CBT therapists know how to measure depression and anxiety, but there's lots of goals clients have that we don't easily have a measure for. So I show how to use one of the worksheets in Mind Over Mood, measuring and tracking my moods, how you can actually use that for all kinds of therapy goals, not just mood goals, things like tracking pain, tracking stress, things like that, even tracking happiness. So we've got a variety of tips, and our plan is over the upcoming 2 years is we're going to post these tips. All of them are going to be somewhere between 90 seconds and 9 minutes, because we want to have it shorter than the break between therapy hours, so therapists could just kind of do a check-in. We're going to
post so smart.
Yeah, we're going to post them twice a month, and I'm even considering, and get your feedback on this, I'm even considering taking an entire therapy session and breaking it up into short segments, and so over several months posting an entire therapy session, but with a bit of narrative about what's going on in that portion. I have a particular interview I'm thinking of, which is a client with multiple problems and some pretty severe distress, and where I'm showing an early session that illustrates how to collaboratively do case conceptualization, make a problem list, but also this is someone who's potentially quite suicidal, how to increase hope and build a therapy alliance in an initial session with a multi-problem client. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
I think it sounds like a great idea. And I have to say that, you know, over the years, I've watched a lot of your DVD demonstrations of working with various problems, and they're great as a way to really sink my teeth into really learning conceptualization and technique and seeing a demonstration. You can't get more rich than that. And on the other hand, you know, with time constraints, or therapists maybe having, you know, just not really necessarily have motivation to put in such an extended amount of time, and also with these being free and available in the public domain, I think it just eliminates a lot of barriers to that.
Well, yes, and my goal at this point in my career is I'm really interested in reaching the current students, graduate students, people early on in their careers, of course I'm interested in CBT therapists at all experience levels, but it's such an opportunity, the internet now, via YouTube, it's such an opportunity to reach a lot of people. And I really do understand the budget of graduate students. And so I think free YouTube videos is a good way to, at this point in my career, for me to offer training to people. So I'm actually, it's my way of paying back and saying thank you to all the therapists who've been encouraging and supportive of me throughout my career.
What a gift. And are you able to give us a little preview of what's coming up next? Or is that
I've got a long list, but the Clinician's Guide's a good preview, because a lot of the ideas that we're planning on covering are at different points in the Clinician's Guide, but we're going to be creative about it. I've got a long list of things. Largely, I'm emphasizing so far some of the innovations that and I say we, Kathleen Mooney and I here at our center, some of the innovations that we've introduced into CBT over the years. A lot of people may not realize that I was the one who developed the 7-column thought record. I've developed a lot of the core belief change methods into the field and how to do them. Was one of the first therapists to use CBT with children. I was first therapist, I think, to write an article about using CBT for positive identity in the LGBTQ population. I've innovated and developed a sort of defense of the self for social anxiety. So over the years of teaching, and I developed Socratic dialogue, the 4-step model of Socratic dialogue that I'll be certainly.
What about the book that you wrote on CBT for couples?
Yeah, I've done a lot of couples work too, so I might talk about that. So when I look over, one of my first goals probably is not to talk about things that almost any CBT therapist could necessarily talk about, but talk primarily about innovations and creative things that we've added to CBT, but also to share how to do these things in ways that are collaborative and client-centered and using Good Therapy Alliance. So that's our starting mission statement.